SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
DinnerBellCorinth.com has the best food in Corinth, Mississippi. Awarded Best Salad Bar, Best Steakhouse, Best Overall Restaurant, and Best Lunch and Dinner under $10. You can't beat it. For delicious food at affordable prices, order online. Visit DinnerBellCorinth.com.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MidDays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, along with Rhino in the Element Wealth Studio, guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music. Brrr, morning there, Rhino.
Howdy.
Who turned on the air conditioner? Man, oh man, what a drastic change in the temperature, at least. But it is winter. Right? And we're approaching Christmas. That's better.
It's dead mid-December.
Yeah. You know, typically when it's warm this time of year, though, usually that's associated with little precipitation, but mainly that sort of weird humidity you get that seems a little different. I don't know why in the winter months than it does the spring and summer months. Just, I don't know. Kind of nasty, in my view. But we're all buckled up, ready to go. We got Mississippi State Treasurer David McRae. He'll be on the program at 11:05. It is Monday, a 2-hour show in store for you because it's Ricky Matthews' Super Talk Outdoors at 12:05. So, a series of tragedies over the weekend. Golly. You know, we need to talk about it a little bit, but honestly, I'm sort of tired of it. Can't people just act right and quit killing other people? Is that too much to ask?
Oh, yeah.
Just seems like, you know, I'd like to focus on doing things productive that benefit society.
It's the darker, sadder, meaner part of my usual saying of people have been people as long as people have been people.
I guess so.
People have been killing folks for a long time.
I know they have, but just as soon as you think, well, okay, that's an anomaly and that's in the rearview mirror, and of course we go back to our daily lives, and then all of a sudden, nutcases show up. So we got Brown University, one of the incidents, and then the beach in Australia. I don't know what the latest count there of the fatalities, 18, 19, I think?
Somewhere around there. Last I saw was 17.
Okay. So it's just indicative, is it not, of a world on edge. And there's also a situation that hasn't gotten as much attention. The president certainly has noted it. And that's 2 U.S. service members and an American interpreter killed in Syria. The president vowed to inflict, quote, serious retaliation. These are just nuisances to the world. That's a nice way to put it. But you start to feel like, is there any way to reconcile and fix this problem? All these bad people, we need to be gone with them, honestly, because they interfere with global society and safety and economic progress. You can't progress economically when you're constantly having to look over your shoulder for bad guys blowing stuff up and killing people. So in the span of 24 hours, 3 separate tragedies across 3 continents. Here at home, Syria, and of course the continent of Australia. 15 people is the latest tally I guess I'm looking at here, Rhino. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Killed at a Hanukkah event, targeting Jews at Bondi Beach. Apparently that's an extremely popular recreational beach in Australia. It's my understanding they were dancing and eating donuts to kick off Hanukkah. And you've probably seen the video of a person who neutralized the gunman is one way to put it, and took the
Disarmed.
gun. Okay. Literally took the gun. Yeah.
Because the gunman then went and got another gun and kept shooting.
Okay. But I think it's fair to say that probably did avoid even more carnage at that point. But this was a person who
was also an indictment of their justice system and their concept of gun laws and gun safety. Because
so true.
That individual who disarmed the terrorist either did not have the know-how and training on how to use the firearm to neutralize the terrorist, or feared for his own security and livelihood going forward if he had used deadly force to neutralize the terrorist.
Yeah.
Just like you have in California, where you have to try to run away before defending your own life.
That's right.
It's this nonsensical, bleeding heart, blowhard BS that comes from liberal minds that think we can all just sit around the campfire and kumbaya our way to peace, when they refuse to understand and acknowledge the reality that there are people on this planet that are not compatible with Western civilization.
100%. And is it not true that Australia has some of the strictest, like, didn't they have a program where you had to, like, surrender your gun, right? Your weapon? Yeah, and then you see what you get. Is it not just a shining, pointed example of when you eliminate the guns in law, or you pass gun restriction law, only the bad guys end up with the dang guns? And they use it to kill people, not defend human life, not for hunting purposes and sport purposes. No, they use them to kill people because they're just evil pieces of you-know-what. I'm sick of seeing this, man. I know the rest of the world is too. But think about that. 3 tragedies in 24 hours across 3 different continents. It's just unfathomable. It really is. And then,
to a certain extent.
Well, I don't want to I hear you, but, I don't want to get to the point where we accept this as normal and
it's
we
never
normalize
acceptable,
it.
But it's not unfathomable.
Okay.
Just statistically,
fair enough.
More people likely die in Chicago than died in those 3 events around the world.
That's true. And we tend to ignore that. That doesn't make the headlines, but it's a continuous occurrence. Heck, it happens where we're sitting, right? Over 100 homicides in the city of Jackson, small town relative to Chicago, of course, but it's happening here. And it seems like anybody around central Mississippi that tracks the local news, it's like every day there's another report of some craziness like that. And the left...
And those are just reports on either the initial event, if that even gets covered, or an arrest is made.
That's true.
You don't see reports on the countless shots fired that pop up in neighborhood apps and on Ring devices and things like that across the Jackson Metro.
That's true. 100%. But it is disturbing that it's going on and that it doesn't get the sort of attention that these events do. We have big problems right here at home that are just happening every day with respect to violence and crime like that we tend to just accept and recognize as, like I said, almost normalizing it. And a lot of that's because the leaders in these cities just point fingers at everybody else as being the problem. If it's not the guns, it's the billionaires, right? It's the Republican policies, and it's the this and that and the other. And they can't be held responsible for that, blah, blah, blah. That's just horse hockey. I still maintain that the dissolution of the nuclear family, really the lack of having any sort of mentor, guide, person to look up to develop a young person, sorely, desperately missing in our society. Here in the state of Mississippi, 46% of the children live in fatherless homes. 57% of the babies, live births in Mississippi, covered by Medicaid. 56% of the babies are born out of wedlock. No guarantee that that child will not be successful as an adult, but the deck is stacked against them, and statistics bear it out otherwise and reflect that, yeah, when you're born into those circumstances and you grow up in a house like that, you're probably going to have a problem. That's what we got to address. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is Bob.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Now back to Middays with Gerard here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays from the Element Wealth studio. Dan in Hattiesburg says we opened up by talking about the chilly weather that has engulfed our state in the last 24, 36 hours. Rhino actually had to put on some long breeches today, and Rhino has them on today as well.
I mean, the temperature was below 40 when I left the apartment, so that means it's pants day.
That's your policy?
That's my cutoff.
Okay, got it.
Because if it's Mississippi and it's 40 degrees when I'm leaving the house, it's going to be plenty warm, especially for me, for sure. It's by the afternoon. And it's not like I'm working in the out of doors. It's a nice, brisk, energetic, and invigorating walk from the car to the building.
It's a good way to put it.
I brought a jacket today. I didn't even put it on walking into the building. It was like 25 degrees, but that felt great. It was waking me up as I was walking in.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just crazy.
No, I think today is one of those days where we'll give you a pass for putting pants on. In fact, I would wonder about you if you didn't show up today in pants. Man, oh man, on the C Spire text line, you said it perfectly. The only way to get rid of these people is to kill them. I got it. Yeah, I think I'm reading it right. Well, and look, I don't like to call for the killing of people, but I do think,
if your entire culture is based on ideologies that we left in the 13 and 1400s, then I'm sorry. The only real way to get through your thick skull is to pound it in, sometimes with violence.
They're a menace to society, and it's one of those things where, okay, well, we can either take them out, right, in which case we can achieve some degree of peace and dramatically reduce the threat and the risk of what they seek to do, which is kill innocent people, and lots of them. Or we can just continue to deal with that. So it's like, who do you want to die, honestly? If somebody's got to die and that's established, I want the bad guys out of here. It's kind of similar to war. It really what it is. They're certainly at war with us. How long have they been at war with us? As far as they're concerned, right? That's their mission in life of their cult is to destroy us. And I think it is reasonable to retaliate with some sort of force, to, using the more sanitized word, right, neutralize them. That's kind of what needs to happen. And it sounds sort of brash and maybe hostile. I don't care. I'm tired of seeing innocent civilians just massacred because of their twisted, cultish, evil ideology.
Because if you take a gun away from a terrorist, they use a knife. If you take a knife away from a terrorist, they use a bomb. If they can't build a bomb to be a terrorist, they use a truck. If they can't use a truck, they use a car. If they can't use a car, they use a piece of wood.
Yep.
If they can't use a piece of wood, they're going to use their fists. They are inherently violent people that will meet violent ends if justice is served.
Agree. And the thing that's always bothered me is you'll hear this retort from the left. Well, you're just talking about the bad people. They're generally, most of them are good people. And I actually do believe that maybe there's a case to be made for that. However, my complaint has always been, why don't they speak up? Why don't they take action? Why don't the good people that are part of these sects, why don't they say, yeah, we got bad people? Now, it could be because they fear they would be eliminated, right? They would be neutralized. But if enough of them band together and spoke up, I think they could, in fact, neutralize the evil people within their group, within their cohort. And they won't do it. And this is, again, the same person on the C Spire text line that said, you said it perfectly, the only way to get rid is to kill these people. Says, and I promise I'm not advocating violence, but I'm a realist. You can't send in social workers and expect them to change. War is hell. Amen. I agree. Paul in Hernando says, how about if we harvest bad people? Well, that's another sanitary way of describing it there, Paul. Good word there. Stephen Starkville says, biblical purpose of government is to protect the innocent while punishing the lawbreakers. Yeah, I think that is well within the scope and purview of government, and I would submit that that's the primary, if not the primary, but certainly the top of the list responsibility of government is to keep us safe. Isn't that what our founders said and envisioned? Unfortunately, our government is evolved into a gigantic redistribution apparatus. We take from one group, give to another, and they skim off the top. That's really what it is, more than anything now.
It's become a jobs program for the workless and feckless.
Good point. And it's not, and it's not even the government, the people that work there, but when you look at all the people that are benefiting from the largesse, and it's just amazing that I sent you some video, we may play that later, at this guy over in Texas running for U.S. Senate, Tallarico, who was served in, I believe, the state Senate, maybe the state house in Texas, a strong opponent of education freedom and school choice, and really took the governor to task in his advocacy for such policies, which ultimately passed in Texas. Now he's thrown his hat into the ring to run for U.S. Senate, and he says the billionaires are the problem. Now, this guy's a school teacher. He's well-spoken. He is presents well, and he's holding these town halls, and he's just fomenting the class warfare like crazy, and basically says that it's the billionaires you can't satisfy them. What the hell does that mean? So there's a problem in that you continue to use your God-given talent to produce for society, and you get rewarded for it? There's a problem with that? So they just sit back and say, I got enough. I don't need to keep inventing and innovating and creating and producing. And the problem is we end up dividing our society into the producing class and the recipient class. And it's just more of the old rhetoric that, we could have child care and this and that and this and that if the billionaires just paid more. Like, it's never enough. You know that. It's never enough. And they already do pay for all that. You should be thanking them. You should be thanking The vision of our founders who created a system that allowed that to happen, because it ain't happening in these other countries. You got no chance. Just tiny smidgen can break through, and usually that's because they got the politicians in their pockets to do it. Way more than legitimate creation. And I know I'm getting on a different topic here of societal value. Let's see, on the C Spire text line, Mo says, how long have they been at war with the U.S.? Ever since Thomas Jefferson sent the Marines to Tripoli, now Libya, to stop our ship from attack and taking our sailors as slaves. It's a good point. Gary in the Berg says, I know this is always a hot topic for him. Thanks for bringing up the out-of-wedlock births and fatherless homes. The family structure is everything in a peaceful, prosperous society. Cut the out-of-wedlock birth rate in half, and the results would be amazing. I totally agree, Gary. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to report that it's a bigger problem in the state of Mississippi than any other state in terms of those metrics I just shared. And I hope everybody hears them and keeps them in mind, because that ought to be a goal of our lawmakers, of our society, of our churches, is to get off the top of that list. 57% of the live births covered by Medicaid. 57. So keep in mind what that means. That means that child's being born into a seriously impoverished household. Now, I understand, as Rhino and I have talked about many times, the not my problem people ain't very good at making sure that they truly are eligible for those benefits, but that is a fraction of those that have figured out a way to circumvent the rules of the system and get the taxpayers to pay for that birth, don't have insurance, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, it also manifests itself in that 45% of the children in the state don't have a father in the home. Also, 56% of those babies are born out of wedlock. You see the correlation there? 56% out of wedlock births, 57% covered by Medicaid. By the way, I believe those three metrics I just shared ought to be recognized and committed to memory by everybody in state government that's involved in lawmaking. That is a huge problem that drives all the other problems in the state of Mississippi. You're right, Gary. You know, I feel passionately as you do about that, but none of them will talk about it. Coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
So, also over the weekend, Rob Reiner and his wife, they were murdered, homicide, in their home in the Los Angeles area. His son, Rob Reiner's son, Nick, charged with a murder.
Has he been charged?
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay.
Now, this just came out.
I saw where he'd been questioned.
Held on $4 million bond. That's stiff. Means they're pretty confident he was involved, right? When you see a bond that high, a lot of the evidence would point to that.
I mean, TMZ was reporting yesterday that he was the culprit. But
okay.
It's TMZ, so you kind of got to flip a coin, and
absolutely.
Even then,
they're more into sensational type reporting.
I mean, they do get some stuff right, but sometimes they're just way off.
It's Nick Reiner, 32, spent years in and out of rehab for drug addiction, is in custody on a $4 million bail. That's been confirmed. And this is being reported by all the major news sources now in the country. So that's really all we know at this point. He's being held. And previously did Nick Reiner, the son of the slain couple, opened up about his battle with addiction and bouts of homelessness. I was homeless in Maine, I'm quoting him. I was homeless in New Jersey. I was homeless in Texas. That's what he told People magazine in a 2016 interview, almost 10 years ago. That's interesting.
Yeah, because, I mean, I don't think he co-wrote the movie with his dad. I think he co-wrote it with somebody else. But he was the writer on a movie, and his dad was producer or director or both on a movie loosely based on his struggles.
Okay. He says...
It's called Being Charlie or Weird Charlie or something
I'm looking
like
at. You're right. I'm looking at it right now. Apparently, he told the Celeb Glossy. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's some sort of media.
Yeah, one of those media magazines out there.
Yeah, that he co-wrote the semi-autobiographical movie, what you just said, Being Charlie.
Yeah.
Said, I'm quoting him here, I spent nights on the street. I spent weeks on the street. It was not fun. Interesting. So, yeah, this is... I certainly never agree with Rob Reiner's politics. There's no doubt about that. But he is a human being, and he was brutally murdered, in this case, by his offspring, which is really a sad situation. He, of course, the director of The Princess Bride, his longtime spouse, hacked to death. They were in their mansion. It's where it occurred. Throats slashed around 3:30 p.m. yesterday. The couple's daughter, Romy, found them dead in the house Sunday and told the cops that she believed a family member should be suspect. How about that? That's what TMZ reported. I did not. Maybe that's what you were seeing, Rhino, that sounds like she knew that her brother, right, was a potential problem and could do something.
To the point, there were reports yesterday that two close family members were being interviewed. One was crying and one was stone-faced.
Yeah, that's right. So, man, they're home there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in Beverly Hills, in the Beverly Hills area. You know, I guess I will forever... The Brentwood area, of course, which is adjacent there to Beverly Hills, or maybe it's part of Beverly Hills. Maybe the neighborhood that's kind of best known for where a lot of the celebrities live. I will remember him, of course, in All in the Family, which was an incredibly popular program and great writing, great acting. No doubt, politically incorrect Archie Bunker. He was kind of the first to play in that role, that character. And it was just entertaining. It was funny. Could you do that today? Probably not, right?
No.
Couldn't produce anything like that today. Sadly.
Even with the understanding that it was poking fun at the bigoted beliefs and the character growth of the quote-unquote bigoted character over the run of the series to learn from his wrong-think. Even with that as the backdrop, you couldn't be that politically incorrect on TV without just people losing their absolute minds.
So I'll even share this little personal, teeny tiny personal connection. When I was in the 8th grade, and when I went to school, it was 1 through 8, then 9 through 12. 8th grade, Catholic school, St. Mary's, over in West Jackson. And we broke into like 3 groups. We didn't have that many in the class. And we were required, as part of, I don't remember which class, to produce and act in a play. That was common back then. You know, all the parents come in to and in my school, it was the gym. We also had a stage. It kind of served as the auditorium. They put the folding metal chairs out there on the gym floor, and the play would take place on the stage. And we actually did a little parody of All in the Family. And I did not play in it, but my friends did, of course, and just made fun of the show, kind of, and acted out the part. And I'm thinking, in front of the nuns and the teachers and the parents, and they all knew, they approved it, right? You had to do it for them. I just don't think that happened today, would it? Of course, you know what you'd have, people with phones there. Oh, my God, look what they're... And it was just funny. Everybody knew it was funny. You can't do that anymore. You can't have fun.
Because half the country only knows how to argue in bad faith and from a standpoint of victimhood.
That's just unbelievable, isn't it? That's sad. Of course, you and I have talked about it before. You ever see liberals laugh, smile? It's hard to find. Just any of them just having fun. They hate fun. They're miserable. And they hate other people having fun. You got to be miserable with me, the old misery loves company adage, of course. I was thinking about it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. That's a famous Christmas song, right? And it's kind of secular, I guess. It's not really a religious type tune, but it's still an enjoyable tune. And, there's the lyrics in there where Billy wants a gun that shoots or something like that. I just started thinking about how does that make people mad?
The latest controversy has been the nonsensical racist attacks on jingle bells.
Oh, I hadn't heard that one.
Oh, yeah. It became a thing on TikTok and then spread from there throughout social media to the witless wonders that vote Democrat, that Jingle Bells was actually racist, that they would put bells on slaves to make sure that they didn't run away. Gosh. And without a single critical thought in their little Democrat voting minds, they took it and ran with it as if it was the gospel truth, failing to even look at the lyrics of the song.
Man.
Because if you're unfamiliar with the history of that song, it wasn't originally titled Jingle Bells. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but I'm fairly certain it was about New England horse sleigh racing.
Yeah. I think I remember.
But because the horse sleigh racing took part around Christmas time, it became a Christmas song. It has absolutely nothing to do with escaped slaves.
Unbelievable. They can connect it. Can they not? They just can. They have the ability to infuse that narrative in just everything. I guess they get some sort of perverse satisfaction out of that. Oh man, really incredible. It's a pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots. There's no Billy involved in that. My apologies there, and it's talking about it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. You're seeing toys in the stores, and I remember those days. Heck, the grocery stores used to sell toys when you had like dedicated grocery stores, not these big supermarkets we have today. And it must be Christmas because they'd have a select little. Oh yeah, that's because it was recorded kind of in that time frame. But a pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots. I'm sure they find something wrong with the hop-along boots, right? There's probably something about that offends, because I don't know if they're referring to the famous Hop-Along Cassidy character, the cowboy, which, by the way, one year in there, I remember my aunt, who would give all the nieces and nephews sort of like toys. One year she gave us all watches, and she gave me a Hop-Along Cassidy watch. Man, I treasured that thing. You can't do this anymore. You people are just... You're serious about stupid crap, right? But you can't get serious about real problems. It's the one way to put it. We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
In Mississippi.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, mama said the way you move gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove. you stay. On that wave, watch honey drip, can't keep away.
Welcome back, everyone. Zeppelin bumping us into this segment here. So on the C Spire text line, the individual that earlier said the only way to get rid of these people, just talking about these bad people that are hell-bent on terrorizing the world and going to a beach in Australia and killing innocent people, the same people that, of course, unloaded on Israelis in Gaza. I mean, it's the same deal. You just go down the list. Same people that flew into buildings on 9/11. All part of kind of
the same ideology
yeah.
that has seen countless attacks on service members around the world.
That's so true.
The same ideology that led to 9/11.
Well, the president seems dang serious, does he not, about retaliating in Syria for the brutal assassination of a couple of service members as well. So I applaud him for that effort. They don't understand diplomacy, do they? I don't think they do. And that's where the Democrats fail. Oh, let's just talk it out. You get to a point where you say, after decades, the time for the talking is over. You are terrorizing, and in this case, you're killing Americans.
If you only speak the language of lead and blood, paper is pretty thin.
Good point. Absolutely. So you get to a point where, no, we got to do something else. This ain't working. An American interpreter, in addition to the 2 U.S. service members who were killed. On the C Spire text line, this same person says, and I just want to say this again because I work alone and don't have anyone to express my anger to. F. Benny Thompson, what you were talking about just now, about out of wedlock and babies born into poverty, his district is full of those and that demographic, and he feeds off of that. If there was an Academy Award for playing the victim, he would own it. The unfortunate accident statement is really bothering me. Thank God he was called out on it immediately. Agree. And certainly Rhino and I did on Friday, and the final segment on Friday, folks, it's out on our YouTube site. I got a little testy, got into a little rant on the congressman. Don't apologize for that. Believe it was totally warranted. And that was in response to his outrageous language describing the assassination of a National Guard troop and the attempt to assassinate the other as an unfortunate accident when conducting a hearing with Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who immediately said an unfortunate accident. She handled it in an appropriate and respectful way, something Benny Thompson is incapable of. He is an embarrassment to his district, to the state, to this country. Let's get his butt out of there, District 2. There are candidates that have now entered the race on the Republican side of the ledger that would be orders of magnitude better than him. Of course, that bar's pretty low. He is a professional shakedown artist. You're right. He does play the victim card. He does tend to racialize everything. And it is true that we just have to be honest about it, do we not, Rhino? That when we talk about these 3 metrics I shared earlier, that it's more prevalent in the black community in Mississippi and in our country, right? I mean, the statistics don't lie about that. This is just math. Now, people out there may be saying Gerard's a racist. Okay, you can say that. I don't care. I'm just citing the data. Aren't we always told, even by the Democrats, well, the data says this, says that, the president's wrong. Well, okay. We're just referring to the data. We want to solve that problem. We want to help. But quit blaming everybody else. You first got to accept, yeah, it's a problem. Now let's go address it. Because I know there are a bunch of good people out there in the state of Mississippi, in our vibrant black community that also know this is a problem. They can help as well. And so our friend Gary that is passionate about this, as are you and I, guys, that message can't come from us. We're addressing our typical audience, but this message has got to come from people in that community that they will respect and they will listen to and hopefully act upon. But you got to be telling it's not okay to go have a kid when you're 18 and you're not married. It's not okay. It's bad. Not praise it, laud it, adulate it. Shower them with, what do they call it, love bombing. No, and we don't want the kid to suffer. Sure, we get that, but, there's a way to avoid this. That doesn't seem to get discussed a lot. I hope our legislature gets serious about this. Number one problem in the state of Mississippi, driving poverty, are those three metrics we shared earlier, and poverty drives all our other problems. We're coming right back with Treasurer David McRae after the news. Your of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, another hour of the talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Begin your transition now.
Now on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's hour 2 on this Monday of Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. We thank you so much for joining us. We're pleased to welcome now in the Element Wealth Studio, it's the treasurer of the great state of Mississippi, Treasurer David McRae. Good to see you, Mr. Treasurer. Thank you for coming in, sir.
Well, I appreciate the invitation, Gerard.
Yeah,
Hope
man.
Everything's going good for you. It's only Monday, so
I know. Oh, we're just getting started, but we're kicking it off in good spirits. We've been talking about a lot of stuff on the program today because a lot's going on, and including in your sphere as well as the treasurer of the great state of Mississippi. It's my understanding that you testified about the stability of the MPACT, IMPACT program, and also workforce needs in our state. You met with the Senate Universities and Colleges Committee.
Right.
I know they were in town meeting last week.
That's right.
Addressing several matters. Give us an update on that.
Yeah, so I normally don't get called to go testify on anything across the street. I work in the Woolfolk building, and I normally stay on my side of the street. It's my thing, and I don't really like to go across the street that often. But they called me over to talk about college savings, our MPACT program, our 529 program, and where it is. It was they wanted some good news, so I had a lot of good news. When I took this job, when I was elected in 19, and I took this job over in 20,
right.
Our college savings program, our legacy program, the one that was started by Marshall Bennett and then shut down in 12, 13, and for whatever reason it was shut down, it was failing. It was at 72% funded, losing money left and right. And I came in and I was like, I want to fix this. I want to see how we can fix this. So I remember meeting with one of our former board members, and they said it was going to cost roughly about $150 to $250 million to fix this program. And to me, that wasn't acceptable. I didn't want to go across. I was a brand new treasurer. I didn't want to be my first ask of the legislature. Hey, I need money. Brand new, not the best, reputation to start getting, and all that stuff. So what we decided to do was change the investment structure of it.
Okay.
It was outdated. It was still based upon a 90s kind of investment portfolio, very heavy real estate, very heavy like retail real estate, not your server farm real estate.
Yeah.
The old school real estate, a lot of overweighted in certain categories and things like that. So I asked the legislature, let's change the investment structure. They believed in me and said, sure. So I was able to invest in the same things that the state treasury can invest in, same thing PERS can invest in. So we started getting rid of real estate. We started getting updating with private equity, some other little things like that. And lo and behold, within the first year, we bumped up to 80%, from 72 to 80% funded.
Okay.
Then in the third year, 92% funded. In the fourth year, 99.7% funded. And today, the legacy program is 101% funded.
Interesting.
And the Horizon plan, which is the one everybody can subscribe to now, it's 140% funded. I mean, so these programs are safe, secure, and, you know, I really took it as a personal mission to save these programs. What I told the Senate was that, you know, I do have a legal obligation for these programs. I am the, you know, I have a fiduciary obligation as the treasurer for these programs to make sure they're there. But I feel like I have a moral and ethical obligation for these programs.
Okay.
Parents invested in these programs for their children. We sold these programs to them on the basis that we didn't want kids to go to school with debt, you know, and graduate with debt.
Yeah.
That's the whole basis. And if we couldn't manage these programs correctly, we didn't need to be in this business.
Okay.
But we are in this business, and we did fix it. And now I am so happy that these programs are safe, secure. They're great programs, and we're seeing an increase in people using them. And in the future, people are using these programs because of the businesses coming in. They're going to community colleges. They're seeing the worth of, you know, education, and they're seeing that debt is a killer upon graduation.
In case there are folks listening that aren't familiar with the program, just the basic high-level concepts.
Sure. It is our prepaid college tuition plan. We have two of them. One, like I said, is a prepaid plan, which if college costs $1 today, and you sign up for the plan, it'll cost $1 when your child's ready to go to college.
Yeah.
And, you know, the best time, there is no wrong time to sign up. We always say, you know, try to sign up before your child gets to fourth grade. But, you know, these plans, the whole point behind them is to graduate college with little to no debt. And, you know, the average child graduates college today with $35,000 worth of debt. Impacts major life decisions, where they're going to live. You know, we constantly talk about the brain drain in Mississippi.
Yep.
You know, if we can help kids graduate with no debt, they can take a job here in Mississippi instead of moving out of state to a job where they can pay off this debt.
Yeah.
But also, when I started this job, debt graduation upon graduation was $30,000. 5 years later, it's $35,000.
Yeah.
We know college tuition is going to go up.
Keeps rising.
And, you know, I know these plans are expensive, so that's why we offer a different plan as well called the Max plan, which is kind of a checking account kind of plan where you can put as little as $25 in. It will help with room, board, tuition, parking, meals, everything you could possibly imagine you need for school. I mean, these are fantastic plans. I mean, I have them for my children.
Yeah, I used it for both of mine as well.
You used it? I mean, I go around the state and tons of people have used it.
Yeah.
But I felt when we took over at the Treasury, with it being 72% funded, the legacy plan, we needed to do something.
No-brainer.
It was just a no-brainer. And coming from the private sector like you do and thinking a lot differently, we needed to change it.
Right.
And it was just as simple as changing the investment structure.
Well, and honestly, the key, and that's what this program allows you to do, is don't wait till your kids are at the point where they're ready to enroll in college and then you're trying to figure out how to pay for it.
Exactly.
But if you put a little money away and have that invested steadily through the years, well, then you're in good shape when that time comes. It's kind of similar, Mr. Treasurer, to the Trump accounts that were just created under the One Big Beautiful Bill, the just simple $1,000 that is put into an account and tucked away and can't be tapped until they hit 18, comes from the federal government, but allows friends and family and even employers to contribute to that. And while it's gaining value as an investment, no taxes on that. And then it's used for designated purposes, just like this is used for designated purpose of college. So it's a good idea to get some money tucked away before it hits you like a ton of bricks when they're 18 and you're trying to scramble around, figure out how am I going to pay for this.
Well, and you're exactly correct. I mean, and, you know, if you can't do the prepaid one, the other one we have seen such big, you know, enrollment in, and with the new businesses coming in, people are seeing that, well, maybe their kid doesn't want to go to a 4-year college anymore, you know, and we're seeing with Gen Z, they're foregoing the 4-year college experience and maybe going 2 years, but they're definitely going 2 years to community college, and those kids are getting great jobs out of school.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I went to a 4-year university. I enjoyed it. It is what it is, but it's not for everybody.
It's a specialized world, and you're aware of this, more and more employers are abandoning the requirement to have a full 4-year college degree. They don't really care. What they care is that you do the work. And just that 2 years or these certifications that seem to have now invaded every sort of discipline, that's what they want.
Well, and I've toured several community colleges all around the state, north, south, east, west, everywhere around the state, and each one provides such a different thing in what they do, whether it's welding, whether it's nursing, whether it's 3D printing that will be used, whether it's cybersecurity, all sorts of things. But I graduated college. I went to law school. I graduated law school, and the best job I could probably get was a $60,000 job.
Yeah,
out of law school.
Yeah,
there are welders that could work down on the coast making $85,000, $90,000. It's a hard job. It's a needed job, but you're becoming so, as you know, in anything in private life, so specialized. You can start charging your rate.
Absolutely.
Here in Jackson, how many plumbers are there? Not many.
It's a plain old demand and supply deal, and the demand outstrips the supply, and that's why the wages and the fees are up.
So, and that's what we're providing. We're providing that access to help families get to college.
I think it's awesome.
Get to community college, and you graduate with no debt. Then you're just playing with house money after that.
Yeah.
I mean, not having to pay anybody back. Debt's a killer. Inflation's rising. Disposable income's shrinking. Anytime you can graduate college with little to no debt, I just think that's a no-brainer.
So you've modernized, the Treasurer's payment systems as well, right? Talk about that.
Well, that's another thing we've done. Besides the investment portfolio, we've done two fascinating things that I think are fascinating that have actually helped out. One, there used to be the old way in terms of how people could use their max plan. You had to go and request the money, then it got put in your account.
Yeah.
It's like multiple steps. That just wasn't going to work. So we put it on a debit type card that allowed people to use it right off the bat. Then the other thing we've done, we just started this in October. We're one of the first, if not the second state in the nation to do it, but we are allowing cryptocurrency to be used to pay for our max plans. So whether it's
awesome.
Bitcoin, PayPal, or Venmo, we're seeing kids aren't using bank accounts anymore.
That's right.
We had to adapt and change. I mean, I'm the bank. We're looking at trends.
Good idea.
And we need to figure out how to make, we want to take their money and we want to use it. So, but if anyone's ever interested in these programs, Treasury, treasury.ms.org, and the information's there on the website, and we'll be happy to sign anybody up for these.
Appreciate it, Mr. Treasurer. Thanks for coming in.
All right, appreciate it.
You bet.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's do this.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Let's go.
We are back in the Element Wealth studio. We appreciate Treasurer David McRae for joining us. He's absolutely right, Rhino. Those programs, those savings programs, man, they're the way to go. There's no doubt about that, because you're locking in is what you're doing, and you don't have to worry about it, man. And I'd like to see more private sector involvement in helping out with our low birth rate. So, we have a birth rate that is below where it needs to be to replace natural attrition of our population. We need to be at 2.1. We're at 1.6. Elon Musk has warned we're running out of people. He doesn't mean next year, but over time it will catch up. And it's just so shocking to me when I think about how we were so worried about population explosion of the 60s. And they were actually, back in the protest song era, there were lots of protest songs about the population's exploding and, oh my gosh, we don't have the resources on the earth to sustain all these people and all that sort of stuff, none of which occurred. And it's the same old thing that we've talked about many times. From the left, it's always, well, you just got to do without. Never engaging or leveraging human innovation as a way to solve those problems. It's always, just do without. That's how we fix it. No flying on airplanes, no eating beef, right? No fossil fuels vehicles, no wood-fired pizza, no natural gas-fueled structures for the energy you need to sustain human life. They just go down the list of all the things you got to do without.
Which natural gas is the ultimate example of their hypocrisy.
Totally agree.
Because for the longest time, the greenies couldn't get enough natural gas. They couldn't praise it enough because it was so clean burning.
Boy, where'd that go? Where'd those days go? Because they're banning it in California, New York City, right? If you build a new building.
It's because the left has never really given a rat's rear end about the environment or Mother Earth. It's all a power play for them to gain political power by playing on the insecurities and the naivete of witless wonders and useful idiots.
Well, their chief spokesman for many years, Al Gore, lives in a sprawling mansion in Tennessee and always travels in a G4 or something like that. Just incredible. And we reported, you remember, a few months ago about the big climate summit down in South America, and they clear-cut a bunch of land so they could extend the runways to accommodate the big planes.
They literally bulldozed the pristine rainforest to build a road to the event.
That's what it was, a road, yes. That's right. That's exactly right. To construct a road.
So they could go slap each other on the back and talk about all the good they're doing for the environment.
It's just the height of hypocrisy, honestly. Very disgusting, and why you can't take them serious about it, honestly. On the C Spire text line, we'll pivot a little bit. I'm curious to know why water rates are, this was the other day from the same person, were increasing in Canton and Madison County. I think that was just in Canton, the Canton Municipal Utilities. And there's easy answer to that, mismanagement. You probably saw that the CMU engineer, Rudy Warnock, was just sentenced to 12 years of incarceration for bribing members of the board. That's all you need to know about why you got rates spiking, because of gross mismanagement and negligence, more worried about padding their pockets than taking care of the business of the utility. The same person says, can you speak on no tax on overtime briefly? Yeah, so this it's one of the three major, maybe four major personal provisions that were included in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law by the president this past summer, which also retroactively went back to January 1, 2025. And it's fairly straightforward. The premium portion of your overtime, in other words, if you make $1 an hour, just for easy example, and your employer pays you time and a half, you make $1.50 when you work overtime. The 50 cents component part of your pay, the premium part as it is known, can be deducted from your gross pay before you calculate your income tax. It is limited. I think it's $25,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken. And then you also have to have an income that's below a certain level as well. I think for an individual it's $150,000 and $200,000. Yep, no, actually $300,000 for joint filers, $12,500 for an individual, $25,000 married filing joint is the deductible cap, the limit. But that's it. And so if you work and you earn a lot of overtime, just keep in mind that this deduction won't be reflected in your tax withholdings because it's a deduction. So payroll systems don't know about your deductions. They only know about exemptions. So if you wanted to adjust your pay with your employer because you know you're going to work a sufficient amount of overtime to reduce your tax bill from when you do your tax return from what's being withheld, talk to them about making the necessary adjustments in the way your payroll records are set up. Unless you're like letting the government keep your money and then reconcile them when you do your tax return. I don't like that. I don't want the government having my money throughout the year and then them sending me a refund. Some people like that. They feel like that's kind of a savings account. Just know that you're not getting any return on that money the government's holding. They're not paying you interest on that. You're not able to invest it. But I get it. Different people have different feelings about that. But that's the bottom line. Let's see, on the C Spire text line, CC in Senatobia says, 17 degrees this morning, Al Gore. Send me some of that global warming and some earmuffs. Yeah. I suspect, right, CC, that was in Senatobia. It got down to the teens in that part of the state. And Al Gore was more into the global warming narrative before the climate change kind of replaced that, because I think all the climate nuts realized, well, it may not be global. They were looking for something else they could hang their hat on. Man,
well,
oh, man.
I mean, all their deadlines had passed for the lack of snow on Mount Fuji and the melting of the Arctic.
Yeah, that's true. Because
they said all that was already going to have happened by the year of our Lord 2025.
And also that homes along shores would be engulfed, right, and all that sort of stuff, because the polar caps were going to melt, fill the oceans up. What happened to that there, Al? The bottom line is...
Same thing that happened with Leonard Nimoy telling everybody in the 70s that we're going to experience the new ice age.
Completely remember that as well. Yeah, Leonard Nimoy, of course, of Star Trek fame, Mr. Spock. You're right. I agree. In his case, just attention. In Al Gore's case, he made a fortune off of that.
Yeah, I don't sincerely believe Leonard Nimoy had really strong beliefs one way or the other. He was hired to be the voice of that documentary.
Yeah.
But now he's infamous for it.
Agree. Jeff in Carrollton says, why don't the people in the Delta just look around their local town and ask, what has he done, talking about Benny Thompson for the Delta? Yeah, agree. And, I have to be careful there. I agree with you, Jeff, but I have to be careful there because what do we want the federal government to do, right? Now, in my view, what Benny could do, although I don't think he's capable of it, is help recruit industry to the Delta and create jobs, good-paying jobs. I don't want him to go to Washington and send more money. We got enough of that. But he is not involved, in my view, in economic development. I don't think he understands how to do it. And he, of course, likely has problems with these dirty, greedy corporations coming in and producing a profit. Doesn't like that. Plus,
he's also the one that has stood in the way of the pumps for as long as he's been in D.C.
That's a good point. So
people in his district have been underwater multiple times because he thinks it's a bad idea to put the pumps in.
Do you not get the feeling that people like him and many other Democrats actually want those people to stay down economically because they can keep promising, I'm going to send you this, and this in the form of all these various programs? And
That's been the Democrat game plan since LBJ.
They want them reliant on the Benny Thompsons of the world, right? That's why they won't vote him out. They don't, and he's not likely to go out and try to promote economic growth because that would diminish his value to them. Oh, wait, these private companies are hiring these people and paying them. Oh, my gosh, and they don't need me anymore. That's exactly what's going on. Coming right back with half an hour of middays.
Balls of fire.
From missing. If it's happening in Mississippi, you'll hear about it on SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Walking through a party in the county jail. The prison band was there, they began to wail. The band was jumping and the joint began to swing. You should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing. Let it rock. Everybody let it rock. Everybody in old cell block was dancing to the jailhouse rock. Spider Murphy played his tenor saxophone. Little Joe was blowing on the slide trombone. The drummer boy from Illinois would crash, boom, bang. The whole rhythm section was a purple gang. Let it rock.
Welcome back, everyone. Gary from Tishomingo says you hit the nail on the head about Benny Thompson. He wants everything to stay that way. Honestly, I just think that the Democrats, this may be kind of an odd way to describe it, but they don't want the private sector, private individuals infringing on their cushy gig. Because the less you need government, the more difficult it is for them to sort of justify their existence and to stay in power. Because you don't need them, and you don't need government. And they want you more reliant on them and government. Because that's where they get power. And that's a shame. But I do think it's consistent with Democratic ideology, is government is, in their view, superior to the private sector. Superior to rugged individualism, which we have now learned by some of the wackos out there, the DEI people, that, oh, wait, that's a product of white European colonialization, right? Rugged individualism. No, that's what made the country great, it turns out. Man, really a shame that the country has evolved that way. And more of the shame, honestly, is that a lot of young people are buying into that narrative. That's what bothers me more than anything, is that they're buying into it. Google Benny Thompson's net worth, a millionaire since entering Congress. I will say that I've actually researched his official filings with the clerk of the House. All members of the House of Representatives are required to file their financial condition, their financial position. And I have reviewed it. If he's made a lot of money by being in Congress, he's not reporting it because it doesn't show that he's worth a whole lot of money for someone of his age that's been there since 93, 32 years, which is insanity at best. So I don't think that's too terribly instructive because it doesn't show that he's really achieved very much wealth. He's got a house and some basic property. Now, one of the problems with the reporting, I think I mentioned this a few days ago, the way the report is formatted for members of the House. If you have, for example, an equity position in a business, you're a part business owner. I learned this from reading several members' official filings, most recently Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she exited, and people were talking about her net worth. And I looked at it, and it's like her interest in Taylor Construction, her family construction business. The area where one completes, that section of the form where a member completes their various business interests like that, such as hers and her family business, it's a range, $5 million to $25 million. Okay, well, which is it? Is it 5 or 25? There's a big difference. My dad, with his fifth grade education, used to say, I wish I had everything in between that. And the same things with Benny and all the other members. So, and I'm not saying that Benny Thompson isn't perfectly capable of falsifying that document. I just don't have any evidence of it, and so I'm not going to allege that he has. But it's also, he is also known, Rhino, as one that, you want to meet with a congressman? You're going to have to hit the hip and donate to something, right? It's a legitimate donation, as far as we know, to his campaign fund or something, and you have to report how you spend that money. Do they cheat on it? Well, sure, they do. There's ways of doing that. But the point I'm making is, that's upside down. No, you work for these people. They're your boss. I know you can't meet with everybody that wants to meet with you, but it's also inappropriate to say, oh, no, if you want to meet with me, I got to have you in on the team here financially. That's wrong, too. Now, I've heard that from multiple people, by the way. Business people, because they have business interests in his district. And, of course, it's not unusual to seek the approval and assistance to the extent they can from a member of Congress that represents that district? Yeah, that's pretty common. But yeah, not with him. You got to pay to play, baby. He makes it very clear. The House says that they are going to introduce their own version of healthcare plan, the Lower Healthcare Premiums for All Act. This is after Republican measures in the Senate and Democrat measures in the Senate failed last week. Just want to share real quick the high-level framework of this rather modest legislation. Pharmacy benefit manager transparency, that in fact is a very controversial issue here in the state of Mississippi, requires PBMs to provide employers with detailed data on prescription drug spending, rebates, spread pricing, and formulary decisions, empowering plans and workers with the transparency they deserve. I'm all for the transparency, honestly. I think that just makes sense. It's kind of shameful to me that we have to pass a law for that. This is something that caught my attention. Appropriates cost-sharing reduction payments. So, quick primer on what cost-sharing reductions are. Those are part of the original Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, where the federal government, if you had an income below 250% of the federal poverty level initially, you go buy coverage and you've got out-of-pocket costs, deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance. The federal government would provide some assistance, not only premium tax credits, subsidies on the premium part of the insurance, but on the out-of-pocket burden of the insurance, the government would provide assistance there. Well, that was repealed in 2017 or 18 in President Trump's first term. No more cost-sharing reductions. So what happened was, I know you're shocked at this, the insurance company said, oh, okay, so the federal government isn't going to help our enrollees with their out-of-pocket costs, which, as you know, the higher your out-of-pocket costs on your plan, the lower your premiums because the insurance company's on the hook for less. I mean, that stands to reason. And the lower your out-of-pocket costs, the higher the premiums because they're on the hook for more. So when the federal government said we're not going to help with the cost-sharing reductions, you know what the dang insurance companies did, Rhino? They raised premiums, reducing deductibles because they couldn't get anybody to sign up for them because of no more cost-sharing reductions, no more assistance with the out-of-pocket component. So they said, okay, we'll just raise the premiums because the federal government's handling that. And that, again, illustrates the explanation I gave last week is it's crazy to say that the Democrats enhanced the subsidies because premiums were rising, because that didn't affect the people enrolled. That just affected the government. Your premiums were always limited as a percentage of your income, regardless of what the insurance charges. It was a giveaway. We know it. In an effort to buy votes with a built-in expiration date, so that they could get it back on the table, just like what is happening right now, and make it a major political firecracker. That's exactly what's happening. But so now the House Republicans are wanting to restore something they actually repealed in Mr. Trump, the president's first term. And then this is something that I've always been an advocate for, that it's just crazy that we can't get this done. Association health plans. And all that really means is that small employers who don't have a lot of buying power and don't have a lot of stroke to negotiate prices because they don't have a big group of employees, they could band together in so-called associations. There's actually an idea that I've seen floated that would allow members of like Costco and some of these big retailers and just other businesses that You like Barnes and Noble. I've got a membership there as an example. Your Kroger membership, Costco. Go down the list. All these various sort of rewards programs. If you sign up, pay them a little fee a year, and become a member. Of course, what they get for that is your information, so they can pound you with advertisements. But think about everybody that's in the individual market who is a member of Costco or Sam's Club being able to join together to go buy insurance as opposed to trying to shop for it as an individual or a tiny business. I like that. That's what's in the House plan. That may be the best, honestly, the best provision of all, because I do think that would really level the playing field between the individual and the group market. And then let's treat for tax purposes individual coverage the same with pre-tax treatment as group coverage. That's a major thing we could make happen today. We need to do it in Mississippi for tax purposes. Coming right back.
Poly up a miss.
Are we going to do this?
Middays with Gerard Gibert
Keep rolling. 3, 2, 1.
on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I feel free. I feel free.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays, final segment. Ricky Matthews, Super Talk Outdoors is next. So, looks like we got a health care plan that the U.S. House will introduce later on this week. That's the expectation at this point. Don't forget to go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. And also, the Sports Talk team is going to be in Oxford for the playoff game. They'll be at the library on the square in Oxford on Thursday and Friday, and they'll be doing interviews with the coaches, former players, and a whole lot more, all brought to you by the Pearl River Resort, your destination for casino thrills, family fun, and southern hospitality. I think we could convince a lot of politicians to retire if they had to undergo a forensic audit of their finances. There's certainly some, no doubt about that. What's actually more bothersome to me, that's from Mose, by the way, Mose, is just digging into a lot of the members of Congress's financial condition, is the number who were flat broke and had filed bankruptcy. That bothers me more than the ones who have actually made money somehow, especially those who did it legitimately. If you look at the wealthiest members of Congress, they were all wealthy before they ever got there, and could have been wealthier if they'd have stayed in there. There's no doubt there was a time period, many of them leveraged insider information, more so than today, because it's just hard to keep that stuff on the inside in the where the public also doesn't know about it. And then a lot of them just get filthy rich when they retire and exit Congress for speeches and honorarium, except Joe Biden. He's having a little problem raising money for his library. And what about Barack Obama's $1 billion library? You see that building in Chicago? Is that the ugliest structure you've ever seen? That thing's terrible. It kind of fits him, though. Man, oh, man. Ben from Madison says, happy to see many conservatives push back on the president and his message about Rob Reiner. We all saw the horrible things people were saying after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and we condemned them. This was very uncalled for by the president. I hope he takes it down. We are better than that. Yeah, and if you haven't seen that, folks, it's out on his Truth Social site, where he does post about the killing, the murder of Rob Reiner. And then the president just injects a little Trump derangement syndrome and little criticism of Rob Reiner because he was always on Trump. I mean, I get it. Trump feels like this is a person that's just perpetually blasting him out there in social media land and wherever Rob Reiner went. I would say, though, at the time of the man's death, especially a homicide, maybe give it a rest for a little bit. I get that. And so you're right. Thomas Massey has called him out, and as have others. Marjorie Taylor Greene actually called out the president on it. So,
and what do those two have in common? They've completely given up on the Epstein thing, so they had to find something new to complain about.
Because they got to get that attention, right? I remember reading in the Clarion Ledger an article stating that Benny was Mississippi's wealthiest congressman. That was 1999-2002. That's Pete Trussell. Man, he's not worth a lot of money, I'm telling you. So I don't know, Pete. I hear you, and I'm not questioning the Clarion Ledger, and I don't remember who was in Congress at the time, but unless he has squandered his money, because here's the problem. He didn't earn any of that money legitimately. He's been in Congress. You don't make up but $174,400. If you are increasing your wealth, either you're doing it through insider trading, that's typically, well, you don't have enough money to trade. It's usually people that are a little bit more liquid that have the ability to take advantage of that insider information. He went there without that. And I'm just talking about looking at his filings in the past. Now, again, is there something not included in those reports? I don't know. Possible? Sure. If it's true, he's committing felony fraud. And if I were running against him and I thought that was the case, I'd be doing some Oppo research to get to the bottom of that, because that could blow him up in a campaign scenario. But I get it. Let's see, what else we got here? You know what's crazy? I walked out of my house at around 19 to 20 degrees. Now it's 42 in Laurel, and it's hot. I don't know about it being hot. And before we get out of here, somebody asked, what is the update on the pumps? I thought all that got cleared, right?
Yeah, the last update I remember seeing was back in the summertime, where funding had been put forward for the Army Corps of Engineers to begin work.
Yeah. We were talking about Rudy Warnock in the Canton Municipal Utility case. He was sentenced to 12 years for bribery of CMU board members. Paula Meridian says, our water bill averages $65.75 every month. That does not include trash pickup or sewage. Yeah, that's pretty consistent with mine too, Paul, without the trash pickup and sewage as well. But CMU has just been mismanaged, honestly. And they had Rudy Warnock bribing them to do so. Back with you again tomorrow. Stay safe, and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.